Welcome to the first edition of Penn State Sports Night of the 2015-16 school year, and we couldn't be more excited. Alongside Brendan May, I'm Mike Gilbert, and let's get right into it, Brendan. After a rough start to the year at Lincoln Financial Field last weekend, Penn State fans could breathe a sigh of relief Saturday after the Nittany Lions beat Buffalo for their first win of the year. The most important stat of the game by far, the offensive line did not allow one sack. Christian Hackenberg stayed clean against the Bulls, but still has been sacked 10 times in the first 2 weeks of the season. Hey, 10 sacks to no sacks is definitely an improvement. Alex Blankman and Breck battled the elements on a rainy Saturday afternoon at Beaver Stadium.
Penn State Nittany Lions will rebound after an ugly 27-10 loss against rival University of Temple. They will take on the 1-0 Buffalo Bulls today here in Beaver Stadium as Penn State looks to capture their first win of the season.
Penn State ready to prove their doubters wrong in the home opener, ready to show that first game against Temple was just a fluke. Late in the second quarter, Penn State finally breaks the scoreless tie in a 22-yard scamper by Penn State running back Brandon Polk. Not too long after, the defense coming in big. An interception by Carl Nassib would later turn into a Penn State field goal, 10-0 Penn State. But the top play of the game is freshman running back Saquon Barkley, who showed off tremendous athleticism. He hurled over the defender to get Penn State closer to the end zone. About 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and running back Saquon Barkley finished off his great game with a touchdown to give Penn State a 27-7 lead. Penn State would never get rid of that lead and win by a final score of 27-14.
Penn State Nittany Lions took on the Buffalo Bulls on Saturday, evening their record to 1-1 with a 27-14 victory. The victory was their first of the season after starting out the season with a loss to Temple. Christian Hackenberg went 14 for 27 for 128 yards, and maybe most importantly, no interceptions. Leading receiver was Chris Godwin, 5 catches, 75 yards. The Penn State Nittany Lions will take on Rutgers here at home next week at 8 o'clock.
Thanks, guys. Freshman Saquon Barkley carried the load on the ground, scoring a touchdown and making that ridiculous hurdle you saw before. Penn State's next game will be the Stripe Out here at Beaver Stadium against Rutgers.
On Thursday, the Penn State field hockey team matched up with California Berkeley. With a win, the Nittany Lions would push their record over 500 for the first time since August. Our Allison Gasparetti has the story.
I'm here at the Penn State Field Hockey Complex where the Nittany Lions are preparing to take on the California Golden Bears on their 5th game of the season.
The entire first half of the game saw scoreless play from both sides. For the majority of the half, Penn State dominated the field on both offense and defense. The Nittany Lions ended the half with 8 shots, while California only had 1. After the half, true freshman Aurelia Meyer scored her first career goal with just over 17 minutes left, giving Penn State a 1-0 lead. Less than 4 minutes later, another freshman scored her first career goal for Penn State, this time Ginny Bramley. Penn State held the Golden Bears scoreless until there were just 4 minutes left in the game. California answered back when freshman Melina Moore scored, cutting the Nittany Lions' lead to just 1. The Golden Bears then tied it up when Sydney Earle scored with just 43 seconds left in regulation. The game then went into a sudden death overtime, with the first team to score coming out on top. Monica Marazzo scored first for the Golden Bears in just 7 minutes, giving them a 3-2 victory over Penn State.
Penn State will travel next week to Michigan, hoping to come back from this week's loss. For PSNTV, I'm Allison Gasparetti.
Thanks, Allison. Great job as always. Penn State volleyball is on an absolute roll. The still undefeated top-ranked squad beat Mississippi State and Notre Dame this past weekend to take home the coveted Golden Dome Invitational Trophy. Megan Courtney and Allie Franti each had 14 kills, and the team extended its winning streak to 28 consecutive matches. That's dating all the way back to October 2014. That's a long time not to lose, Brendan.
NFL football is finally back, Mike. After an offseason that featured more court time than game time, players across the league got their chance to put their suits away and their jerseys on. The most exciting game of the week, we were watching this the other day, happened to be the last one. The Cowboys may have beaten the Giants 27-26 on a last-second TD pass, but they could have hurt their playoff chances in the process. Star receiver for the Cowboys, Dez Bryant, injured his foot in the game and is expected to be out 4 to 6 weeks. This could be a crushing blow for a team whose leading rusher has less than 600 career yards. Elsewhere in the NFL, the Josh McCown experience in Cleveland lasted just about as long as everyone expected it to. The Browns QB injured himself on the first offensive drive of the season. In came Jonathan Paul Manziel. Mr. Football reminded everyone just what team he plays on by promptly turning the ball over 3 times.
Brendan, he did have that, what was it, a 65-yard touchdown pass?
He was all right, yeah.
I mean, the three turnovers, though.
Same old Johnny.
Same old Johnny. MLB playoff races heating up. The Yanks just lost 3 of 4 to the Blue Jays, including 2 games and a day-night doubleheader. They also lost Mark Teixeira for the season with a bone fracture. Nathan Eovaldi out for the year. This one hurts. For at least the rest of the regular season. Could be back in time for the playoffs. The Blue Jays are also holding their collective breaths. Troy Tulowitzki hurt his shoulder in the Bronx. Meanwhile, in another borough, the Mets, your Mets, Brendan, are now 9.5 games up on the Nationals, who are just imploding. Drew Storen injured his pitching hand, punching a locker. It's never a good thing. Bryce Harper exited yesterday's game with an injured knee. Safe to say that their playoff chances are slim to none at this point. Texas in control of the second wild card spot behind the Yankees in the American League. They're fighting off Minnesota, the Angels, and the Indians. Pittsburgh has control of the top wild card spot in the National League, with the Cubs locking down the second spot. No real competition after that. And we'll be right back for some debate, which is what the show's known for, right here on Penn State Sports Night.
Hello and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Brendan May, alongside me, Alex Blankman, Rob Breck, 2 former Patriots QBs battling for the starting job in Houston for Bill O'Brien, former Patriots coordinator. Who do you guys like to win that job?
I mean, how can you not go with Ryan Mallett, especially after how terrible Brian Hoyer played in the first half? He was 18 for 34 with a 12.3 QBR. Not to mention that Mallett came in, went 8 for 13 with a touchdown. And you know what? Mallett is familiar with Bill O'Brien's offense. They're both together in New England. I think it's time for Ryan Mallett. He's like 6'5", got a cannon for an arm. I don't see how you get this job to Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. You have to give it to Ryan Mallett. He had a much better QBR coming in at 85.9. He had a rating of 110.4 for 72.4 for Hoyer, who is just generally ineffective. I agree with the fact that it's all about knowing the offense, and he clearly knows the offense already. He's a big guy with a cannon for an arm, and just like you saw it at Tyrod Taylor from the Bills this weekend, cannon for an arm can win you some games.
Exactly. And you have to know that if Bill O'Brien was so quick to pull the hook on Hoyer, that there had to be some doubt in the building about his abilities and confidence in Mallett's.
Let me ask you guys a real question real quick on the same topic. The Patriots have had a lot of backup QBs recently that flamed out. Matt Castle wasn't exactly what people thought he was going to be. Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett. None of these guys have really turned into, oh, he's Tom Brady's backup. He'll figure things out. Do you guys think that eventually maybe Jimmy Garoppolo down the line, you know he's going to get a starting job? Do you think there's something about that job that really doesn't lead itself to success?
I think it's the Patriots. That's my opinion. I think it's the Patriots, and I think Garoppolo is going to be good because I think he's going to stay on the Patriots. He's going to replace Tom Brady. But look at, just like you were saying, look at the guys who have left the Patriots system but learned the Patriots system while they were there. It does not translate. If I had to point it to one reason, it's got to be Bill Belichick. I just think that's the number one reason that when you stay in New England, you learn with the first team offense in New England, and you run that very strict system that almost forces you to be great and forces you to be a great quarterback. When you go to a system like the Texans, it's just not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the classic argument of the culture. You know, people come in, for example, Danny Woodhead. This guy was a Jets practice squad player and then makes it in New England. And you see that with a lot of the quarterbacks. When you're behind Tom Brady, when you're listening to a Bill Belichick, there is a chance, though, with Ryan Mallett here and a Brian Hoyer because Bill O'Brien runs that same system.
Maybe chalk it up a little bit to first week of the year, a little bit of nerves. I think that it was a little bit sloppy yesterday and during the entire weekend for football, but there were some good storylines to come out of it. What do you guys like? What were you guys watching for over the weekend?
All right, my number one storyline of the weekend has to go to Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. And my reason is this. Peyton Manning doesn't look like he has anything left in the tank. And I'm not even saying he has a little left in the tank, like maybe one more season out of it. I really just don't see him as a guy that has anything left in the tank. He's coming off so many neck surgeries. He has no feeling in his fingertips. I mean, just think about imagine being a quarterback, your job is to throw the ball, and you don't know almost when it's being released from your hand. It's just not easy. This was a defensive battle against the Ravens. They won the game 13-19 thanks to a great offensive line for the Broncos, a great defensive line for the Broncos. But Peyton Manning, 175 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. That is not a good game. That's not a good game by Peyton Manning. That's a bad game by Brian Hoyer standards. I mean, that's just not a good game. When you look at the receivers, Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, they combined for 15 catches and just over 100 yards. So Peyton's not even spreading the ball around anymore. He's just looking at his two key guys who had more than 3/4 of their yards this week. I don't think Peyton Manning has it this year. I don't think the running game has it this year. C.J. Anderson, 12 rushes for 41 yards. And Ronnie Hillman, 12 rushes for 29 yards. These are not good running backs, and this team, as good as their defense is, just might not be there this year.
It took until the fourth quarter for them to have their first, both the Ravens and the Broncos had their first play inside the red zone, both of them in the fourth quarter. So it was a real sloppy game. Rob, what do you think? What stood out to you this weekend?
Well, if I find one great storyline from this weekend, it has got to be Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills. Nobody talked about Rex, especially when he started Tyrod Taylor, a guy who's not started a game since he played college 5 years ago at Virginia Tech. This guy comes in and absolutely lights it up, throws a touchdown pass, had as many rushing yards as LaShawn McCoy. All right, they did great. They held Andrew Luck to a 38 QBR rating, forced 2 turnovers. They already had a very talented defensive line. It's going to be even better with Rex Ryan's defensive mindset.
And that's all the time that we have here for on Penn State Sportsnet. We'll be back with a little bit of best and worst from Rob and Mike. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. Time now for our best and worst segment. We'll stick with the NFL theme. Rob, why don't you give us your best?
My best of the week goes out to Tennessee Titans rookie quarterback Marcus Mariota. The Heisman Trophy winner answered many critics who predicted that he could not succeed in a pro offense by lighting up the scoreboard versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was actually in a head-to-head showdown versus the only player who was picked before him in the NFL draft. The quarterback showed poise, leadership, and the raw talent, which made him a national sensation at Oregon. Mariota was an outstanding 13 for 16 for 4 touchdowns and a 95 QBR, a nearly perfect performance. It's hard to imagine a better start to an NFL career.
Lovie Smith known for his defense, so it's kind of hard to fathom a rookie quarterback could run all over him like that. You want to hear my best, Rob?
I would love to.
I'm going with Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard, but the bearded warrior, who I like to refer to him as you can see right here, threw for 2 touchdowns in a 31-10 rout of the Cleveland Browns to start off the Todd Bowles era, and for that, I thank you. Rob, your worst.
Well, my worst of the week has got to go out to the Seattle Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch, and Pete Carroll. In the first real game since blowing the Super Bowl on one of the most controversial play calls in NFL history, the Seahawks found themselves in a similar situation Sunday. After battling back in the fourth quarter to erase a large St. Louis lead, the Seahawks faced a 4th and 1 with the game on the line. Possibly in an attempt to redeem himself for his Super Bowl blunder, Carroll took the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands and gave it to Marshawn Lynch. Different player, same results. The Seahawks were stopped once again and were in defeat.
Your best, Marcus Mariota. My worst, Jameis Winston. First throw, welcome to the NFL. Stares down one receiver. As you can see, we're playing it on the screen now. As you can see, he stares down one receiver, locks him down, but there is the Titans defender. Welcome to the league, kid. Hopefully Jameis can shake that off and shake off a bad day against Tennessee. We'll send it back to Brendan to close us out here for Penn State Sports Night. Brendan, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. For Rob Breck, Alex Blankman, Mike Gilbert, and Allison Gasparetti back in the studio, I'm Brendan May. See you next week for more Penn State Sports Night.